لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت يا حي يا قيوم تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا اللهم ذكرنا ما نسينا وعلمنا ما جهلنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من حال أهل النار لله تعالى. I praise Allah, I glorify Him, and I thank Him for all the endowments that He gave without Him being obligated, and I ask Allah to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and to protect his Muslim nation. I testify no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one without a partner, the one without an equal, the one without a similar, the one who is unlike anything in the universe, and nothing in the universe is like Him. He has no father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no son, and no daughter. He exists without time and place because He is the creator of time and place. He does not reside above the throne, and He is not attributed with fatigue like the Jews say. Our Lord is glorified beyond any imperfection that the non-Muslims attribute to Him. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah Ta'ala does not resemble that. And whoever attributes an attribute of the creations to Allah is outside of Islam. And I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdul Manaf, from the tribe of Quraysh, is the best creation of Allah, and His final prophet and messenger, sent to all humans and jinn, and He is truthful about everything He conveyed of the revelation. Thereafter, remind ourselves to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah in attending the session of Islamic knowledge, because having the sincere intention is a requirement to get the reward. So we're going to continue on with this very beneficial subject matter titled Defending the Chosen, referring to the Prophets alayhimus salatu wassalam. And as the title suggests, these prophets, they have been targeted by the devil and by the agents of the shaitan, people that have corrupt hearts, people that they want to try and weaken the foundations of Islam, but they never will be able to. People that want to normalize blasphemy, and they want to make people think that the prophets alayhimus salatu wassalam committed vile actions, partly because they hate the prophets, partly because they want to justify their own immorality. And so they would say, oh look, the prophets, they did such and such. And so this is why it is important for us to establish and confirm and offer the proofs for the impeccability of the prophets alayhimus salatu wassalam, their high status given to them by Allah Ta'ala, the specialty that they have, and what is befitting to say about them and what is impossible to be attributed to them. It's the one that people need to be admitted to get in. I use the same one. So there are people that they have fabricated stories about the prophets alayhimus salatu wassalam, that they say things that do not befit the prophets, and they attribute that to Islam, and this is incorrect. When in Al-Islam, the prophets have been venerated and exonerated, and they have been, their status has been established. So, and another reason this is important is because the enemies of Islam, a lot of them nowadays, there's a growing trend among the enemies of Islam to try and discredit the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so they try to say that they only follow Allah. And we say that if a person, they try to separate between La ilaha illallah and Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they will never be judged as Muslim. So for us, in order for someone, the rule is, in order for someone to be judged as a Muslim, they have to believe in La ilaha illallah, which is having a correct belief in the Creator of the universe, and they have to believe in Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That means that we have to, that means that we're obligated to follow and obey whatever the prophets convey. And so some people, they have a misunderstanding and they think that the only thing that the Prophet conveyed was the Quran. And so to that we say, the Quran is the specific revealed book that was destined to be the book that the Prophet of the end times, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, receives. But also the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, when he spoke within the Islamic context about something regarding the permissible, the forbidden, about something regarding the creed, about judgments in Islam, all of that is through the revelation. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sent to convey the message, which is the revelation of the Quran, and what was revealed to him of the Quran. He conveys it and passes it on and explains it and clarifies it and gives details about it. And there are things that are revealed to him that are not Quran. However, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving that information based on what was revealed to him. So there's many instances in which the companions, they came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about a certain issue, about what they should do, and then the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam would receive the revelation about that particular matter, and so the judgment would be conveyed to those companions. So we see the importance of the prophets. And we stated in the previous session the high status of the prophets, that they're the best of all creations, and that they have the highest status, and that prophethood itself is something that is bestowed, and that it is not a degree or a level that one can work his way up to. So the righteous Muslim, no matter how obedient he is and how consistent he is in doing the good deeds, he will never reach to the level of prophethood. He wouldn't be, let's say, progressing until he gets to prophethood. Rather, prophethood is something that is bestowed. So Allah Ta'ala chose these men to be carriers of the revelation. And so, specifically about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is the last of them. And Allah Ta'ala has explicitly established in the Quran that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the seal of all the prophets, meaning the final prophet, and that he is their leader, their imam, and that all of the prophets that received the revelation, they conveyed to their followers the status of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his great virtue. So this is something that is known. So then we also mentioned, we started talking about the status of prophethood and certain things that are specific to prophethood And so we were saying that the origin of prophethood is to inform. Because the term Nabi, it is taken from the gerund or the masdar an-nubuwwah from an-naba, or the nubuwwah is taken from an-naba, which means the information or the news. Because the nubuwwah, the prophethood, is informing and conveying the message from Allah. And also it could be derived from an-nabwah, which is the elevated status. And so prophethood itself, it is something that is mentally valid. And meaning the mind judges that this is mentally valid, mentally permissible, mentally possible, and that it is not mentally impossible. And prophethood, it is an endowment bestowed, yani a gift given to them by Allah, that Allah Ta'ala, He endows it upon whomever He wills of His slaves. And Allah specifies whoever He wills among His creations with prophethood. And so prophethood cannot be reached through effort and fatigue, in putting effort and doing the good deeds and doing the righteous deeds. And likewise, it is not reached, prophethood is not reached by maximizing obedience and worship and putting effort in that. Rather, prophethood, it is an absolute virtue given by Allah Ta'ala to the one who receives the prophethood. And the evidence for this is in the Quran, يَخْتَصُّ بِرَحْمَتِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ ذُو الْفَضْلِ الْعَظِيمِ. So this is referring to the fact that Allah Ta'ala chooses for prophethood, bestows prophethood upon whomever He wills. And so prophethood, it is something that is given, it is bestowed, it is chosen. Yani the ones who get it are chosen by Allah Ta'ala. And prophethood would not be for anyone except for the one whom Allah Ta'ala chooses. Except for the one whom Allah Ta'ala endows them with that endowment. And among those who are qualified to carry it, because the magnitude of prophethood, it is severe and serious, and it is a great responsibility. It is a great accountability. And no one is able to handle that except those chosen ones, those ulul azm, those ones that have that ability among the men. And so there's a verse of the Quran that is referring to this, that is indicating this. إِنَّا سَنُلْقِي عَلَيْكَ قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا. So in this ayah, the term قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا, there's been many different interpretations for it. Among them is that it means that for lack of a better word, the weight of the revelation is something that is grand and magnified, because it is something very serious, and the information that is being revealed is something very serious and enormous. So it is given that similarity to something heavy, and meaning it's something serious, not something to be dismissed or ignored or to be taken lightly. It's the opposite of taking lightly. So قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا, some said that it's referring to the actual revelation that's coming, the information. It is not to be taken lightly. And also some of them said it's referring to this state in which the Prophet ﷺ, when he's receiving the revelation, there would be a literal heaviness, to the extent that if he was, let's say, riding on a camel, the camel would kneel to the ground, and because of that heaviness. And also the Prophet's head, ﷺ, there would be some heaviness. So it was something that was, in that sense, heavy on the Prophet ﷺ. And there's other verses of the Quran that support that, like the verse in Surah Al-Hashr, that's referring to the fact that if any of these ayat, if any of the verses of the Quran were sent down upon the mountain, upon a mountain, that mountain would crumble from the fear of Allah Ta'ala. And also some said that قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا is referring to the fact that this information, it being the truth, and it going against the blasphemy of the idol worshippers, and it being a miracle, something that they cannot produce, something similar to it, something that they know and acknowledge it is not man-made, that is heavy on them because it refutes them, it contradicts them, it shows that what they believe is falsehood. And some said that it's referring to the great rewardability of it, the fact that the one who follows the revelation, he'll get a lot of reward. The Muslim, and the one who follows the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ, he'll get, it'll be way heavy on his good deeds, on his pen of good deeds on Judgment Day. And some said that it's referring to the permanence of the Quran, until near the end of this world, when that fragrant wind comes and takes out the souls, or the souls of the believers, they come out of them and they all die at once. So this is all different sayings and interpretations for قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا. It's referring to the revelation of the Quran. When the idol worshippers from Quraysh, when they objected to the message of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they denied that, supposedly being surprised and being shocked that this message would descend upon someone who was an orphan and that wasn't wealthy, that they do not possess the assets that are causes that result in power and wealth, according to what they think, or according to what they see, according to their perspective. They said that he did not have the apparent qualities, or the apparent resources of rulership and reigning and kingship and being a ruler, that would make him, in their eyes, great or magnified. And so when they looked with that short vision, or with that invalid and flawed vision, that flawed perspective, that they thought prophethood is only for someone who is grand and wealthy, and that is among the supposed elites and the heads of society. So that since that was their mentality, the idol worshippers of Quraysh, there were verses revealed to refute them. And so Allah Ta'ala refuted them. with these verses. وَقَالُوا لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنُ عَلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنَ الْقَرْيَتَيْنِ عَظِيمٍ أَهُمْ يَقْسِمُونَ رَحْمَةَ رَبِّكَ نحن قسمنا بينهم معيشتهم في الحياة الدنيا ورفعنا بعضهم فوق بعض درجات ليتخذ بعضهم بعضا سخريا ورحمة ربك خير مما يجمعون. So these two honorable verses, they refute the idol worshippers, their foolish perspective and their silly perspective, that they claimed that prophethood can only be for someone that is rich and famous, and not for someone that was not wealthy or was an orphan. Rather, prophethood is something that is bestowed. Allah Ta'ala chooses whoever He wills among His creations with this honor, and according to His eternal and everlasting knowledge. And Allah Ta'ala is attributed with perfect wisdom. And as it is mentioned in the Quran, Allahu a'lamu haythu yaj'alu risalatah. And so since prophethood, it is the highest status, and it is greater than having wealth and prestige and power, Allah Ta'ala distributed for each person their sustenance, and for each creation their portion of wealth and sustenance. And so this great status of prophethood, Allah Ta'ala would not leave it up to the preferences and biases and desires of the people. And so this tells us, this gives us an insight into that part of the ayah. نحن قسمنا بينهم معيشتهم في الحياة الدنيا. So since Allah Ta'ala is the one who distributes the wealth, the material wealth, likewise He is the one who endows whomever He wills with prophethood. So basically those idol worshippers, they are refuted because whoever it is can achieve this status of wealth or power or prestige amongst the people. If a person does this or does that, they can reach that, they can have that. And Allah Ta'ala grants wealth and power and prestige amongst the people, to whomever He wills, both the good and the bad, both the believer and non-believer. But something with the highest virtue, with the highest rank, like prophethood, it is only given to those who are special, specially chosen by Allah Ta'ala, and to be honored by Allah Ta'ala for carrying that office of prophethood. Furthermore, prophethood does not occur through inheritance. So the child of a prophet would not become a prophet through inheriting that from his father prophet. Rather, prophethood is something that is absolutely bestowed. It is a favor, and Allah Ta'ala is giving that prophet this special status. And so prophethood is never given to a kafir. Prophethood is never given to a kafir, to a non-Muslim. Rather, prophethood is given to the Muslim that is chosen by Allah Ta'ala by His generosity. In contrast to rulership and kingship and power, it might be given to other than the Muslim. Allah Ta'ala revealed about the Pharaoh, وَنَادَى فِرْعَوْنُ فِي قَوْمِهِ قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ أَلَيْسَ لِي مُلْكُ مِصْرَ وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِي أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ, which is something that the arrogant Pharaoh was addressing his people with, telling them, "O people, aren't I the ruler of Egypt, and these rivers, they flow beneath me, do you not see?" So this is the arrogance of the Pharaoh. And about the other arrogant one, Nimrod, who claimed godhood during the time of Prophet Abraham alayhi salam. He also claimed to be God, and he tried to force people to worship him. So this proves that rulership and power and reign, or having a kingdom on earth, is given to both the Muslim and to the non-Muslim. And also prophethood, it is a position, it is a status, it is something that is bestowed, a position that is specific to men, and it is never given to women. An-Nawawi mentioned in Al-Adhkar, from the route of, or with a chain from Imam al-Haramain. And Imam al-Haramain is a great Imam, a great scholar in Islam, an undisputed scholar in Islam. And now we mentioned from Al-Imam al-Haramain, he conveyed the consensus that Lady Maryam is not a prophetess. And he attributed that to a group in Al-Muhadhab. And it has come from the route of Al-Hasan al-Bisri, لَيْسَ فِي النِّسَاءِ نَبِيَّةٌ وَلَا فِي الْجِنِّ, that there are no prophets among women and there are no prophets among the jinn. And the wisdom behind specifying men with prophethood, excluding women, is that prophethood, it is a heavy, severe weight, responsibility, and it is a great responsibility that the nature of the woman cannot bear it. The weak nature of the woman cannot bear it. Because prophethood requires, it requires putting a great effort and a consistent great patience. And this is why all of the messengers, except Adam alayhi salam and Sheeth alayhi salam and Idris alayhi salam, they experienced a lot of tribulation and hardship from the people that they were sent to. So we exclude Prophet Adam alayhi salam because during his time everybody was Muslim. We exclude Prophet Sheeth alayhi salam because during his time all the people were Muslim. We exclude Prophet Idris alayhi salam because during his time all the people were Muslim. It was after Prophet Idris alayhi salam passed away that blasphemy first appeared on the earth and it filled the earth. And Prophet Nuh alayhi salam was the first messenger that was sent to the people once they had blasphemed. And we know from the story of Prophet Nuh the great hardship and difficulty that he faced from the people that he was sent to. They would mock him, they would make fun of him, they would beat him until he became unconscious. They did all sorts of horrible things. So the prophets, they consistently dealt with things like that from the people they were sent to. And except Prophet Adam and Sheeth and Idris alayhimus salatu wassalam. And the prophets, they were inflicted with severe calamities in the path of conveying the message of Islam. So of course it's all talking about the reasoning behind that prophethood is specific to men and that no women were given prophethood and that women were excluded from prophethood. فاصبر كما صبر أولو العزم من الرسل. And the proof that prophethood is specific to men is the verse وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ إِلَّا رِجَالًا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِمْ فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. So this ayah means, and Allah Ta'ala has not sent before you except men who received the revelation. Therefore ask the people of knowledge if you did not know. Al-Tabari, he said, that Allah Ta'ala mentioned the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he's referring to him in the ayah وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ, meaning, and we have not sent before you, O Muhammad, to a nation among the nations, calling for tawheed and the eradication, calling for tawheed and leaving out what we have forbidden and fulfilling what we have ordered, except men from the children of Adam that they have received the revelation, not angels. So yani, the specification of men, therefore not angels. So yani, it means that those who have been sent with the prophethood, or yani, we have sent you with the prophethood, and just like we sent you before you, similar to you were sent with the prophethood. Yani, we only sent men. Yani, Allah Ta'ala only bestowed prophethood upon men. And also Al-Qurtubi, he said, this upcoming ayah is a refutation. هل هذا إلا بشر مثلكم. So this verse of the Quran is referring to, this is one of the things that the idol worshippers used to do, is they used to say about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he is not someone like different than them or more special than them. So these verses refute those idol worshippers who had that arrogant position. Meaning, Allah Ta'ala only sent men. And so the idol worshippers can't say, oh, you're just a man, because Allah Ta'ala, He only sent men as prophets. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. This is an order to refer back to those that have the knowledge, those who claim to follow the Torah and the Injil, who converted to Al-Islam and believed in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because as you know, some of the, for example, one of the scholars of the Jews in Al-Madinah, he converted to Al-Islam when he encountered the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he asked him certain questions because he had knowledge of what the original Torah said about the Prophet of the end times and his description and how to identify him. Since he knew that's what the original Torah said about how to identify and how to figure out who the final prophet is. Since he had that knowledge, he then, when he encountered the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and found that criteria present, that this is the one who he fulfills all the descriptions, so he believed in him. So this ayah is saying, ask those who had that knowledge, and so they know how to identify the final prophet, and so they believed in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he asked them for that information so that they can clarify. And they were named Ahlul Dhikri in that verse because they used to mention the news of the prophets among what the Arabs were not aware of. And the idol worshippers of Quraysh, they used to go back to the people of the book asking them about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And some other imams, they said, what's the meaning of al-dhikr, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ, in that ayah, it means ask the Muslims who are knowledgeable among those who have the knowledge of the Qur'an. And so in the verse, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ إِلَّا رِجَالًا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِمْ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْقُرَىٰ. This refutes those who say, we wish that this revelation was given to an angel. And so there were some idol worshippers who said, instead of the revelation being bestowed upon a man, why wasn't it given to an angel? And so the ayah is emphasizing that Allah Ta'ala only gave prophethood to men, yani meaning no women and no jinn and no angel. Now, Abu Hayyan, he said this is a negation, a general negation, yani for all time, that any prophet on earth would only be amongst the men, yani it would only be from that gender. And so it wouldn't be an angel. And so this is a refutation for those who used to say, if God willed, He would have bestowed that revelation to an angel. He would have sent angels. So, if all these verses put together, they clarify and emphasize that prophethood is only bestowed to men. And this is the majority opinion in Ahlul Sunnah, and it is the correct opinion. There were some imams of Ahlul Sunnah who said that certain women receive prophethood, and they use as something to try and support their argument verses like what was mentioned about the mother of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, because the term awhayna was used, or the term awhayna was revealed, referring to the inspiration that she received to put Prophet Musa alayhi salam in the basket and tie him on the river. So in response to them, because basically they say, look, the word awhayna is revealed, and that term means revelation. And so we say, in this specific ayah, and due to the context and everything, it doesn't mean revelation, because the term awha is not only specific to revelation, it can also be inspiration. So it wasn't through an angel being sent, for example. It was something that Allah Ta'ala made firm and clear in the heart of Prophet Musa's mother, alayhi salam, wa radiyallahu anha, that made her do that. So this is called inspiration. And so one thing, a strong proof that supports the correct position, which is our position, that those verses that use the word awhayna or any derivative of awha, referring to certain special women that have a high status, like Lady Maryam, Lady Asiya, the mother of Prophet Musa, alayhi salam. That's referring to inspiration. And that is referencing when the same term is revealed about the ant. Because basically when Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, when he was traveling through the air with his army, Allah Ta'ala enabled Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam to hear and understand what an ant was saying, because he wanted to land, and so the ant made a supplication so that it wouldn't be crushed, that it wouldn't be killed. And so the term awhayna is revealed, and referring to the fact that the ant was inspired to say those words. And so Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, Allah Ta'ala enabled Prophet Sulaiman to hear it. So this is the explanation of how to interpret those terms awhayna when referring to certain specific women. That doesn't mean that they received the revelation. It means that they were inspired, and it wasn't revelation. It was an inspiration of having something really clearly affirmed in the heart from Allah, and not the revelation of prophethood. Now we mentioned the difference between a prophet and a messenger, between a nabi and a rasul. So now we're going to get into a technical categorization. So knowing the difference between a prophet, a nabi, and a messenger, a rasul, is among the important matters of the creed. How would it not be when the way to know them is a way to know what they came with and what they conveyed from Allah? So it is among the essentials to bring attention and awareness to that matter, especially when this matter has become confusing for many of the later authors of explanations and commentaries, and they were not precise or diligent or meticulous in what they wrote in this case, and in what they mentioned about this case. And Allah Ta'ala inspired the ant. Allah inspired the ant, and Allah made the ant say that supplication, say those words. So once that is understood, that it's important to know the difference between a nabi, a prophet, and a rasul, a messenger. So we say that the prophet and the messenger, they share a common ground in the revelation. So each one of them receives revelation from Allah, receives a revealed law that they are obligated to implement and convey to the people. Except that the messenger, the Rasul, he receives a new law that abrogates some of the law that was revealed before him. So some of the judgments that were applied during the time of the prophet that came before him, they would be abrogated, meaning new judgments that are to be applied in place of those old ones would be revealed to that messenger. Or he would get a completely new set of laws that were not revealed or given to a prophet that came before him. As for the prophet who is not a Rasul, as for the prophet who is not a messenger, then he receives revelation to convey the law of a messenger that came before him. And this simple breakdown has eluded many of the people, and so many of them, they made a mistake in defining the prophet and the messenger, and they claimed that the prophet, or a prophet, a nabi, is someone who received a revelation, a law, but was not ordered to convey it. And so that speech is not befitting to attribute to the office of prophethood, because all of the prophets, they are ordered to convey, and all of them fulfilled what they were commanded to do. So this is, for example, as an example, one of the first things that we defend the prophets, the chosen, from. Some people have made a mistake and they've made claims about the definition of a prophet and the definition of a messenger who is not a messenger, and a prophet who is not a messenger, and a messenger. Some people, they made the distinction between them in an erroneous way, in a mistaken way. They said that the messenger, he receives a revelation, he's ordered to convey, and that the prophet, that's not a messenger, he received a law and he was not ordered to convey it. And we say this is a grave mistake, because it does not befit the office of prophethood, because all of the prophets are ordered to convey, and all of the prophets fulfill what they were ordered to do. Al-Imam Abu Mansur Abdul Qahir ibn Tahir al-Tamimi al-Baghdadi, he said in his book Usul ad-Din, he said the difference between the prophet who is not a messenger and the messenger, between a Nabi and a Rasul, is that the Nabi, the prophet, he's the one who receives revelation from Allah, and the angel descends upon him with revelation, and the messenger is someone who receives a new law, or he receives certain new laws that abrogate the laws that came before him. And the great interpreter of the Quran, the great Mufassir Nasiruddin al-Baydawi, he said in his tafsir that the messenger is the one whom was sent by Allah with a new law, calling the people to it. And a prophet is more general, is the one who was sent to establish a previous law, like the prophets of the children of Israel, those who were between Prophet Moses alayhi salam and Prophet Jesus alayhi salam. So from the time of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, all the prophets who received the revelation and were sent to the children of Israel, they were prophets who were not messengers. What does that mean? It means that they received the revelation and they were ordered to convey the law of the Torah. So Allah Ta'ala ordered them to follow the law of the Torah. So those prophets that came after Prophet Musa alayhi salam, they didn't receive a new law. However, they did receive revelation, and they were prophets performing miracles, and they were ordered to convey what was revealed to them, but in terms of the revealed law, they did not receive any new law. They were ordered to follow and convey and teach the law of the original Torah. And the great scholar Kamaluddin al-Bayadi al-Hanafi, he said in his book Isharat al-Maram that the prophet is a human that is sent by Allah to convey what was revealed to him, and likewise the messenger. And that is the meaning here. And this is why it is specific, or that's why it's restricted to the prophets. And he said in another spot in the same book, the third, that the messenger is the one who came with a new law, and the prophet is the one who did not come with a new law, and he was ordered to convey. Just as is mentioned in the explanation of the alternative explanations of the Maturidis. Until he said, and the meticulous scholars, they chose that saying, meaning that's what the meticulous scholars, what they used to define, or the definition that they used to distinguish between prophets and messengers. And Al-Baydawi, he was explicit about it and he also documented that explicitly. And Ahmad al-Ghumari, a great scholar who was of the modern era, he said the difference between a prophet and a messenger is precise, and it's very detailed, and it has eluded many people. And what is famously mentioned in the books of the Islamic scholars of the Creed, in the difference between them, is that a messenger is a person that receives the revelation with a law and is ordered to convey it, and a prophet is a person who receives revelation with a law. That's what is mentioned erroneously in many books of the later who spoke in the knowledge of the Creed. So this great scholar Ahmad al-Ghumari, he's basically mentioning what has been widespread in the books of people who claim to be scholars of the Islamic Creed, and they mention that the difference between a messenger is someone who receives revelation he's ordered to convey, and the prophet is someone who receives the revelation and is not ordered to convey it. He says this is the speech of an ignoramus, someone who is ignorant of the Sunnah and the confirmed narrations. He said, on top of that, the explicit verses of the Quran. So he says, indeed, the verse, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ مِن رَسُولٍ وَلَا نَبِيٍّ إِلَّا إِذَا تَمَنَّى أَلْقَى الشَّيْطَانُ فِي أُمْنِيَّتِهِ فَيَنْسَخُ اللَّهُ مَا يُلْقِي الشَّيْطَانُ ثُمَّ يُحْكِمُ اللَّهُ آيَاتِهِ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ. Is explicit that prophets and messengers, that they are truly ordered to convey, sent with the message to convey. And likewise, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, a prophet would be sent to his people, or to a certain group of people specifically, and I was sent to all the people. And so the Prophet ﷺ is referring to himself as a prophet in that, and he is confirming that he was sent to convey to all the people. So basically here what we're establishing is that some so-called scholars, they made a mistake in defining a prophet who is a messenger and a prophet who is not a messenger. The prophet who is a messenger, the true definition is a person who receives revelation and receives a new law, either in some judgments or a completely new law. And the prophet who is not a messenger is a person who receives revelation and is ordered to convey it, but he does not receive a new law. So that's the only difference. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. We'll stop here because the next class, inshallah, and after we have defined who is a prophet who is not a messenger and who is a prophet who is a messenger, and after we have clarified the mistake that some later authors made in their books, claiming that a prophet is someone who receives revelation and is not ordered to convey it, Next, we will talk about the way to identify a prophet, yani how the prophets are confirmed that they are telling the truth, and that is through the miracles. So, and because the subject is important to have a fresh mind, we're going to leave it for the next class. So it's titled, The Miracles, They Are the Way of Knowing the Truthfulness of the Prophet, yani of a prophet. So how do we know that a prophet is telling the truth, that they received revelation and that they have a message from Allah Ta'ala, from the creator of the universe? They come and tell the people, God has chosen me to convey the revelation. This is what's good, this is what's bad, this is what happens after you die. There is a judgment day, there is paradise, there is hellfire. This is the straight path to paradise, and whoever takes it is guaranteed paradise. That other path is the path to hellfire. Whoever takes it, and he will be in hellfire until no end. So in order for the people to believe them, how will they be sure that he's telling the truth? The way that occurs is with the revelation. With the miracle. So with performing the miracles, the prophets, they verify to the people that they're telling the truth. So the people say, you claim to be a messenger of God, you claim to receive revelation from God. What is your proof that you're telling the truth? And how do we believe you? And so the prophets would perform a miracle. So we're going to talk about how the miracles, they prove that the prophets are telling the truth. And so this is important for us nowadays, especially because there is a growing trend, a rise in many people trying to attack the credibility of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and trying to cause the Muslim to doubt in the credibility of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they try it through different methods. Among the methods that they try is to try and say that he was just a regular man, or that he did not perform any miracles. But once we establish that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed miracles, then the sound mind dictates that you have to believe that he's a prophet. And if he is a prophet, and since he is a prophet, then we have to obey, and we're obligated to follow and implement what is confirmed from him. And this is where many deviant people, they make a mistake and they fall into the pits of blasphemy, is that they think that they can criticize or downplay the status of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But there is no way. And the person cannot walk on the straight path except by following Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that rings true for us, since he's the final prophet, and so because we're living in the final days. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. Are there any questions? طيب نهلل لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات وبارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم.